What's up, everyone? Today we have a very interesting show for you. My name's Ralph Nickerson, and today we're going to talk about a subject that I have to admit I don't know much about. But when we finish this up, I'm hoping that we all have a general knowledge of the importance of this subject and an understanding of what we need to do. That subject is called drink. And joining me today is a good friend of mine. You all know him from Southwest Hip, legendary A-Leaf's own Big Shan. We call him Big Sexy, and obviously it's well deserved. Shan, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, pleasure to be here. I don't want to say I'm a legend yet, because I'm still living, but my legacy will extend on once I pass.
And when we come to this subject, you know, unfortunately, you have a lot of experience, if not on the user side, but on the side of watching your friends go through this. But to get into it, first tell me what exactly is drink?
Promethazine with codeine. It's a cough syrup. When you have a fluid in your lungs and it's hard to cough, they prescribe it to you to numb the pain so you can get the fluid out. And it's been around for a long time, but it's definitely a pharmaceutical, and it's an opioid for those that don't know. So it's in the same family as heroin, Oxycontin, and things of that nature.
And so when you hear people talk about this, they'll say drink, but it also has other names, right?
Oh, yeah, syrup, Kool-Aid, punch. And then if you go, you'll hear other names, like they'll call it a cruiser, and that's about how much drink it is. If it's a pint, the abbreviation for a pint is a PT. And then, so people would not be aware of what you were talking about. You say, oh, I got a cruiser over at the house, or I got a couple of zips, which are lines, and how many zip is an ounce of codeine. So they would say, I got a few zips at the house of codeine. And so you want to definitely be aware. For parents out there, learn this language, so when your kids are talking, you can know what they're talking about, because they could be having a conversation about drink right there in your face and you don't even know it.
And one of the notorious things about this is, in the Houston area, is it kind of came from right here, H-Town, and made popular right here. Take me to the history. How did we get this? How did it formulate?
You know, and this is the crazy part. First, let me say this, because I want to make sure people understand this. The people who made drink famous were not the ones who were first drinking it. So promethazine with codeine has been used by people for years. Started off, it was more like business class, because they could get high and you wouldn't know that they were on anything, right? Because you get it from the doctor. The people who made it famous, definitely the screwed up clique. And I had the pleasure to growing up listening to the music and being friends with a bunch of these individuals. And that's just what they did. The true term would be they overconsumed drugs and they made it famous. In Third Ward, Texas, was the first place that they poured cough syrup in a soda and drunk it.
And just even hearing that, I'm like, why? Like, why? Like, because there's so many legal ways if you wanted to get a little buzz or whatever. But this is not about legality, and it's not about getting a buzz either, because you don't get a buzz from lean.
No. You're going to lean. The feeling of euphoria. Don't know how it got started. Don't know who was the first person to say, let me pour it in a soda. I can't exactly tell you who exactly was the first person, but I can tell you the group of individuals. And I can even tell you the year I learned about drink. It had to be 1992, listening to a screw tape. And being young then, I didn't exactly know what he was talking about, because they called it bar. And bar was the manufacturer of drink. So they would say, we're sipping on bar. And when I'm young, I'm thinking they just mean like, hey, they think about alcohol like a bar. But no, that was B-A-R-R-E, and that was the maker of drink. And so you would hear the music, and what happened is that they turned it into fashion, because with the music came the fashion that shaped the city. And then from the city, it shaped the whole southern coast. And what we call the southern coast is everything from Texas to Florida. That was the first, right? The whole Southern coast. And the way you feel about it is the way a lot of people feel about it. Oh, man, y'all drinking cough syrup. Ha ha, y'all country. To see in 2022 how it's taken over. To know people who live out the country. And they're like, man, you know, people out here in Australia, they sip drink. You know, I'm over here in England, and I was visiting England, and there are people out here sipping drink, and it's like, it went that far? And it did because of fashion. But it definitely started in Third Ward, and the truth, the person who solidified it on the map was Lil Wayne. So a lot of people don't know Lil Wayne stayed out here when he was going to college. That's where he picked up the habit, sipping drink.
And he took it and ran with it.
And it is never stopped since then. He fully submerged in the Texas culture. When you submerge in the Texas culture, it's the overindulgence of drugs. And I don't know if the rest of the world knows it, but that is what we're known for a lot. And it's not just street individuals, too. I want to make sure we understand. It's not just street individuals. Right. High class, businessmen. You go to some of the places, they overindulge in drugs. That's what it is. Drugs have always been cheap down here. We're so close to the border that drugs are the cheapest thing that you can get. And so people have been smoking marijuana, doing cocaine, doing pills, heroin for long periods of time. And then when you go places out of state and they're like, oh man, yes, that's the culture.
Now, but we had early warning signs. You know, we look at DJ Screw. We had an early warning sign, this hold up, wait a minute thing, but we didn't learn. Tell me a little bit about DJ Screw and how his life, and more importantly, his death should have been a warning sign.
Well, and first, I do want to say, you know, rest in peace, because a lot of people don't understand his legacy. And the sad part is that drink is tarnishing the legacy of who he is and what he's done.
His death is almost overshadowing his career.
That's it. And people will forget that this was somebody who created his own sound and took it across the world, but the only thing that they remember is sipping drink and the overindulgence of drugs. It's just like anything that you do. Somebody told me a long time ago, when you die and they put that chalk lining around you, they're outlining you're bad and in closing you're good. So they only speak about the negativity. But what that gentleman did and what we should have paid attention to is, one, that he did lose his life. Two, is that it was never his intent to make the world sip drink. They just exposed the world to what they were doing. Honestly, from meeting him, I don't believe that he thought it would kill him. I don't think anybody did. I just think they were doing what they were doing. And when you get caught up in addiction, you chase the dragon. Because what you did yesterday doesn't get you high today. So I have to do more to sustain where I want to be. And that's the hard part. I believe, and I can't say for sure, but you get caught chasing the dragon. And when you do things so much and so often, you feel like it's okay. I'll be all right. Well, it's okay for me to drink 10 ounces of syrup. Y'all don't know, 10 ounces of syrup is a lot, you know, because it's not like a soda. This is cough syrup for real. It's thick. It's going to coat. And if you drink, you know, if I drink it 10 ounces in the course of a day, then now I just feel like maybe I can drink 10 ounces in a cup because I'm chasing a high. I want to feel the way I felt. And he used it for his creativity. And that's why he slowed the music down, which gave people opportunity to hear and really understand what the music was talking about. But then after you live like that a certain way, and a lot of people also don't realize he was troubled, because even before he died, just the people that he was close to were dying. And so sometimes we deal with things in negative ways.
Self-medicating, self-treatment, self-diagnosis, self-medicating.
That's it. And that's probably the most problematic thing that we all go through as far as a nation.
Where were you when you heard that?
When Screw died, believe it or not, we were right here about 3 weeks before Screw died, he was at a barbershop right here on Woodfair. And a bunch of the people from the Screwed Up Clique used to be in this side of the town.
And this side of town is, so people watching.
It's Southwest A-Leaf, Texas. I have to represent that to the fullest. And so he has a lot of members that was out here, but he was actually out here. The day that I heard about it, we were here, but we were heading out to the club. And it's like the city shut down because even then, to have a living legend, like I don't think people really understand that, but he was a true living legend. A lot, if not 90% of individuals who have made it in the music game in the city since about 98 till now have some form of influence from DJ Screw, excluding maybe, and then I would still have to say Beyonce them also, because they appeared, which made them to the streets valid. They had a song with a guy named Little O, and Little O was part of the Screwed Up Clique. And so that made it valid to everyone here. But everybody from Slim Thug, UGK, Scarface, everybody has something to do with him, and he made them bigger than what they are.
And speaking of UGK, Drink and Lean also spill over into
Pimp C.
To Pimp C.
Yeah, another unfortunate demise. The lifestyle, the fashion. And so when I say the fashion, I know that's throwing some people off, but right now, it's a legacy. If you see anybody that has 2 styrofoam cups, if you from the hood, you automatically think that's lean because it became the fashion. And so it's so much the fashion now to where you have designer cups are made for people who sip drink. So you have designer styrofoam cups made for people who sip drink, or people will have artists draw on their styrofoam cups for videos and things of that nature because it has become fashion.
See, and I think Pimp C's death was one of the most tragic. I mean, they're all tragic, but I think Pimp C's death was super tragic. One, I thought he was on the cusp of something great.
Yes.
I think had he lived, when we talk about greatness, great rappers,
yeah,
his name would have been up there with the Mount Rushmores. He was just about to peak, yeah. and then the way he died, alone like that, away from home, that is, to me, I think that's a tragic thing, and I try to think about. Now, I worked in the news industry over 30 years. And this always goes to my mind. It's like, what was your last minutes like? I think about Winehouser. What was her last minutes? You know, Whitney Houston. The last seconds of her life. What was her life like? So when I think of Pimp C, I think what could have been going through his mind, like to be alone like that and to have that demise after a promising career. Do you think that people that are in the middle of this, they're not thinking about that as much as me or you or anyone else is like what they're going through? They're just thinking about the moment.
When you're going through, I don't know what you're really thinking about. Opiates have a thing, and so when you understand what opiates do and the addiction, so what happens is when you're overdosing on an opiate, a lot of people don't realize what happens is you never see them fighting. It's almost like they go to sleep because what happens is you have the feeling of euphoria, so you feel no pain, but your body cannot absorb oxygen. And so it's like you're numb, but you're drowning. And so they just slowly go to sleep. I don't know exactly what was on his mind. I do want to say this. He's on my Mount Rushmore, not just for being a rapper, but the presence that he set in the industry for the South.
He helped put Southern rap on the map.
Correct.
Hands down.
And everything boils back to decision making. I think as a unit, everyone, we all have to be careful of our decisions. And something that I was taught a long time ago is that you can make the same bad decision 1,000,000 times. it's the one time that decision comes back is the time that it hurts. And I don't think anybody had an expectancy of it. I think one of the most major problems is that we downplay it. If we would attack it the way we need to attack it, it would be different. And the reason why I say that is because when other people die of certain things, they broadcast it, they give you warning, they tell you signs to look for, give people education and understanding, but they don't tend to do it with drink, or it is done under culture because that's how they do pharmaceuticals. Right. They don't want to put the pill companies or the drink makers in jeopardy of losing money, so they don't broadcast it. And that may be the major issue all the way around. Because anything else, they gonna broadcast it. We see it on the news all the time. Stay away from this. Stay away from this. When I was a kid, this is your brain on drugs. Crack the egg, and they tell you the drugs, right? The drugs that's killing our kids right now. When you hear the opioid epidemic, how often do you hear them talk about drink?
No, and I'll tell you, like being older, a lot older. I've seen this trend, I've seen this evolution. Listen, when it happens in the black and brown community, it's those people's problem. It's those people's fault. It's, they're getting what they deserve. Then when it spills into the suburbs, now you can lose 10 black kids, you lose that one white, we got an epidemic, we got a problem. We need to get on this. We need to have a committee. We need to form some kind of government intervention here. We need now the president to stand up and go, there's an opioid problem. It's only a problem when it's your kids.
That's it.
But if you look at the rate that black and brown people were dying from this, and not even just dying, but having their lives destroyed and their relationship with their families torn apart, this would have been an epidemic a long time ago. We would have had to get on this. Like, we got to talk about this.
That's it.
And I don't like to play my black card. I like to keep my black card kind of close in case when I really do need it. But I'm going to throw it on the table right now and say, yeah, this is a problem. A lot of this is self-inflicted. But the fact that we're not talking about it, there's no educational program going on about it, a lot of that boils down to, as long as that's taking place over in Third Ward, Sunnyside, Denver Harbor, we can, that's just them people, Darwinism at its best. But you it's kind of like the AIDS epidemic. When it was just in the gay community, it's like, well, that's a lifestyle. So when somebody heterosexual white got it, they're like, we need to get on this. We need a cure now. So whenever I look at this, maybe we don't need rappers doing songs glorifying this. Lil Wayne's song, it sounds like he's singing a love song to a woman, but he's really talking about drink. Maybe we don't need that. But I will say, big props out to you, your partner Ricardo. Be busy as an organization with Southwest Hip going into the schools and trying to educate kids. Because at some point you got to break this cycle. You have to have positive reinforcement. And big props out to you. And again, be busy for making this where you may be the only people in the city, in Harris County, literally going into classrooms, reaching kids. At least I haven't heard of it, and I've been in this for a long time. What do you hear in your feedback from your students that you're reaching when you start talking to them about these things?
99.9% of them do not relate drink to heroin. That's number one. So they're surprised that it's even that close. Number two, it's become such a fashion to even hear somebody talk against it is surprising, because our drug culture worldwide is grown. And so it's like, it's just, and it's minor. And the reflection is, one, you hear some key points. The music. We have to stop letting music educate our kids. I don't just want to put it on a race. I have to be honest with you. We have to stop letting music raise our kids and realize that the messages in the music are real. We also have to stop giving one side of the story, because it's another side. Yeah, you partied. Yeah, you had fun. 5 years later, you're on dialysis. If you rap about that, they'll never play it anywhere. If you tell them the truth, they will never play it anywhere. They're only getting the bits and the pieces that they want them to do because they want them addicted. If you're addicted, we can train you. You'll do whatever we want you to do because you're a follower. And that's the issue. When we go into those schools, when we leave out, I don't force kids to do anything. I don't go in there and I don't say, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. What I do is I go in and I give them an education on both sides. And when I leave out, when they talk to me, they was like, man, you know, I never knew that this, and this. Because the reality of it is you have to make the decision. I'm leaving. I met you, I talked to you 10 times, I gave you all the information. Now, what are you going to do with it? Because when you're confronted, now is your time. And I know I won't save them all, but it only takes one. Because here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know. The codeine that they're sipping now is synthetic.
Yeah. It's
man-made.
In someone's garage sometimes.
Pretty much.
By someone that probably had a GED and failed chemistry.
If they even have a GED.
And now they're making something you're putting in your body. That's a hard sell for me. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even drink, so that's a hard sell to say, hey, drink this.
You know, here's a question that I ask the kids, and they always get amazed when I ask it. Why do we trust drug dealers? Anybody whose whole motivation is money, why do you trust them? You won't trust a politician if you find out he's only about money. You won't trust a pastor if you find out he's all about money. I'll never go to that church. He only wants to buy a Cadillac. But the person who sells you drugs
have a Cadillac. You could have said a Mercedes.
Yeah,
but we're gonna let that slide.
They will accept that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's okay. He's my friend. That's the other one because I
was gonna say because now the image. Because they may see that drug dealer in the neighborhood more than that pastor or that politician. Mm-hmm. And so it makes them easier for them to believe that when they say, hey, here's your styrofoam cup.
Easier prey. You know what I tell them? Yeah. If he's truly your friend, show me how long the relationship lasts when the money stops being transferred. That's when they start to recognize. And here's the reality. Our kids are not dumb. They have a belief that it won't be them. And that's the issue. Because they tell you, oh, yeah, I know somebody that did it and this happened. So why do you still do it? Oh, that was just them. You don't think it'll be you? I don't know. No, it won't be me. I don't do it a lot. And so I ask them, so, is it dangerous not to wear a seatbelt? Yeah. But only when you get in an accident. The one time may cost you. You may get in there 1,000 times, don't put on the seatbelt. The one time you get into an accident and you didn't wear a seatbelt, it counted. So the one time you put your faith in a drug dealer, that was high. And because he's high, he made a mistake on his calculations. Now your life is at risk. Yeah. Why do you have faith in him?
See, and I've been in the autopsy room when they Y-cut someone that spent years on drugs and maybe OD. Heart sometimes 3 times, 4 times the normal size.
Beating too hard.
Everything that's supposed to be red is brown. It's brown. This is from years. Like, even if you don't OD, you're shortening your life expectancy. It's a hard, and your quality of life too.
That's it.
You can burn fast, but when you do, you burn out quick. And so there's a country song where the guy says, "When I drink, I'm 6 foot tall and bulletproof." I think that's a mentality sometimes when people are doing drugs. Like, yeah, like you said, it's not gonna happen to me. I know he did it, but he was a fool. I'm not no fool. I know how to do it. And then next thing you know, people walk around with a shirt on with your name on it and wings on it, The mentality for me is growing up, I never wanted to do anything that would cause my mom pain, ever. And I always thought if there's a 1 in a million chance I was going to hurt my mom, I wasn't going to do it. So you can say, shoot this, snort that, smoke. No, I don't know what you laced that with. If it didn't come from my house, too many hands been over that. And if I'm going to cause my mom to be standing there in a black dress crying,
I won't do it.
I'm not going to do it. I don't know if a lot of people have that mentality where they think, and here's the other thing, I'm going to throw this, a lot of times it's happening at their house too.
That's for sure. You just touched a lot of bases on a lot of things. First, I want to say this. I commend you in your stance. I wasn't that strong. I dibbled and dabbled. Man, I won't say a lot of things, but I dibbled and dabbled in some things. And I definitely sipped, drank, smoked weed, did a lot of things that were unhealthy to me. Truth is, the reason why I do what I do is because I realized that once I got the education, then things change. For me, the education was seeing people go through the effects. And so we just named like DJ Screw, Pimp C, but there are more other people that were definitely harmed. Big Mo died, complications of sip and drink.
Yeah, you were telling me about Big Mo. But tell me about his last moment, like you're telling me one of the last times you worked with him and you saw him.
Yeah.
How things were for him. Because I think that was one of those things you told me in that story. I kind of went in my office. I was like, I just felt like bawling. I was like, there's no way that human beings have to put themselves through that.
So for the people out there, let me say this. Big Mo may have been maybe one of the most friendliest, funniest people you were to meet. Great guy all the way around. Drink has a way of shutting your body down. The last time we was with Big Mo, we was at a show in Corpus Christi. And I got love for my brother. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. The drink was having such an effect on Big Mo, he couldn't even get into the F-150. Blunt, my guy Blunt was driving the F-150. We watched Mo struggle to get into the truck for about 20 minutes to where Blunt had to go pull the truck up to the curb so he can walk off the curb into the step of the truck. About maybe less than 3 weeks, I say about a week, maybe a week and a half, he went to the hospital. His organs were shutting down. That's another thing that people don't know. When you're dealing with opiates, pain relief, painkillers and things like that, they stop you from being able to digest food. And so whenever you go and you're going to be on painkillers for a long time, they prescribe you painkillers, they prescribe you antibiotics, and they prescribe you stool softeners because they know your system's going to be backed up. Well, from sipping drink for so long, his system was backing up. He was having all type of problems. And the saddest part about it is when he went to the hospital, we knew we should have went to see him. But I never forget, me and that day, and my brother JG is a witness, Easy Money too, shout out to the Easy Money camp. We looked at each other and we was like, man, bro messed up. And the conversation from that point, I was like, bro, I don't never want to be like that, bro. And that's another reason I made a change. Because just looking at that and the experience and knowing who that was and knowing how it was hindering him. So I was in the music game, but I wasn't famous. And I was on the cuspice, but I wasn't where Mo was. And at the point where it's stopping your mobility, it's stopping you from being able to perform, it's stopping you from doing your craft, it's stopping you from being a parent, it's stopping you from being a brother, then we have to understand that that's addiction. A lot of people don't comprehend addiction, but addiction, when it starts to play an effect like that and you can't give it up, it's an addiction. It plays with your reward system because now the things that you would normally get satisfaction from, because we get satisfaction from taking care of our family. You get satisfaction from performing. You get satisfaction from doing these things. The only satisfaction you get the reward from is the drug. So the drug becomes more important than anything else. It's not that I don't love my kids. It's not that I don't love my job. It's just that I get the reward from the drug. So you cater to the drug. And then when you see the tearing down of the body, and it's like you still couldn't stop. But it's a war. And a lot of people also don't know that opiates have a physical dependency. So if you can't get it, then your body hurts. How would you feel if just you had a full body cramp and the only way to stop it is you had to get high. I don't know about you, but I've had a cramp before. I'm pretty sure you military, you had a cramp before.
I've had cramps before.
How hard do you massage and how fast do you try to massage that joint out your leg?
You will try to do anything to fix it.
I'm a grown man. Cramp brought me to tears. And just imagine the only way to stop it is you got to get high. You may take the chance to get high just to stop the pain. And those are the things that the common individual don't recognize. Because when you look at it from the outside, they always like, oh man, you can just stop. You can't just stop. This is your life now. You can't just stop. You have to recreate who you are. And that's hard. And
it becomes a medical issue at that point. So which means that you need professional help to get over this. You can't do this alone.
No.
Traditionally in the black and brown community, we don't really like to go get help, especially in things that deal with emotions. Because you can't get off of this.
You can.
Unless you deal with a lot of the things that cause you to get on it. You got to fix that part of you to be able to get off the drugs. Because if not, you sober up and you say, man, still my life is crap. I'm going to have to get high again. I'm going to have to get high again just to deal with this. So I'm not a medical expert, but I've been on this planet long enough to say that you have to get professional help.
You do.
Because if not, this is going to be a loop.
Cycle.
You're on that hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And
6'10".
you just can't do it. You just can't do it.
It's going to take a few key things. First one is, and people always laugh at this, but this is the truth. Love for yourself. You have to have a love for yourself that's so strong that when you recognize that you're not who you want to be, that you want to change. Sometimes people get caught up. They don't recognize that they're not where they want to be because life has become a routine. But you have to have enough love for yourself when you look around and say, you know what, I could be doing better. And you make better decisions. Second one is your support system. You're nothing without a support system. It can't be people around you that would enable you to do the things that are killing you. That's where most of the people that we named fell short. DJ Screw. And I'm pretty sure some people in his family like, hey, you're doing a little too much. But the core group of the people around you are doing the same thing that you're doing. And that's what becomes the issue. Same thing with Mo. And I can say that only because I've been places where you don't even have to buy the drugs. Yeah. You are who you are. I'm bringing the drugs to you. One, because this is what you're known for. And it's going to build my status if I can get high with you. So now you just being normal, you may be chilling. You know what? I'm going to try to relax on it. And then I'm going to use the term, then you got a demon pop up and like, hey, are you trying to relax? But I got this for free. You don't have to do anything. They bring it to you. Right. People will supply it. And that's when it becomes an issue. You need somebody that's going to be there and be like, you know what, brother? You need to relax. And then not only will they tell you, they're going to stand with you to make sure you're okay. Because the other part is when most people go through addiction, they have to walk through it alone. There's nobody there going to hold your hand. You need somebody there that's like, man, I'm willing to fight with you.
Yeah. And for every celebrity, every known person, there's 1,000 people that names not known around the city, not known around the world of music industry that's going through this. They go under the radar or unseen, but their families are left to deal with this. Mm-hmm. And they're not Big Mo. They're not Pimp C, or DJ Screw.
Or Grace, Mac Miller, Little Xan, Chinks. The names goes on. And then I can name people from neighborhood.
Prince. You could even throw Prince in there because he died from a combination of cough syrup, painkiller, muscle relaxer, and anti-anxiety medicine. He mixed his drink in his body, instead of a cup. I mean, even back to River Phoenix died from that. I always go, how many people have to? How often do we have to do this? I mean, River Phoenix is almost 30 years ago now. Dying on a sidewalk because he just got sleepy and laid down on the sidewalk and died. Prince got sleepy and laid down in an elevator and died. Whitney Houston.
In the tub, hot tub.
Yeah, mixing drugs and painkillers and anti-anxiety medicine. Fell asleep in a tub and drowned. You know, how many people got to go through this before it literally, every politician, this should be a platform. To me, you can't run for an office in the black and brown community unless we're going to talk about this problem. If you don't want to talk about it, you don't want my vote. And then after we finish talking about it, you got to do something about it because you're not going to get my vote the next time. But it's not an issue. It's not an issue. Usually in other communities, when something happened to someone famous, oh, we own it now. What do you mean Rock Hudson had AIDS and died? Oh, we own it now. In the black community, oh, Pimp C, that's how he lived. Don't mean nothing. That's not right. It's just not right. So here's the thing with me is we ain't gonna wait on them. We have to do for us. And that's why, again, I love when I go over to some of the high schools, that I go over and watch you and Ricardo and I look at these kids and they're like this.
Yeah.
I mean, they're listening. They're paying attention. Even ones with their heads down, they're still listening. Because they're getting a message that politicians and doctors, and they just fly right over that community and land out in the suburbs to hold their messages. These kids are getting it right there. They ain't got to plan a schedule, get paid. This is happening during school time. So they're there. To me, that's amazing. And I think it's working. Because I don't know if you guys follow up a lot, but you go back into schools, I don't think you heard any kids that went down that rabbit hole after they had a conversation with you.
No.
I think the track record's pretty good.
We're blessed that we know we are making an impact.
Because you let the kids know you care.
And that's the key.
That's a difference.
And I'm also willing to be that support system. Another reason is, and this is for all the adults out there and those for the individuals that are in positions to help people, stop hiding who you were. I say that personally because how can you reach someone who's where you used to be when you don't want to show them that's where you came from? So a lot of times we grow up and to get positions or to move ahead in life, we have to close chapters of our lives. But what happens is you fit in with the new group, but the people you left behind, they're okay with where you are, but they need to see where you came from so it becomes real. Because even in our class, as we talked in our class, I've had teachers open up to me about their experiences after they hear the kids talking. But these are the same teachers who's like, man, I just talked to the kids about the same thing. And they act like they didn't understand. And so I try to tell them it's not that they didn't understand. It's who you are today. They didn't believe.
They didn't relate.
What you were saying. It's no,
it can't,
yeah. It's like if you've been good all your life, how can you tell me what it's like to get in trouble? If you've never been to jail, you can't tell me, because you don't know. You don't know the gang life. You can't tell me stay away from gangs. You don't know what it's like. So when you hide your personal experiences, and I also recognize that sometimes those individuals hide it because it's still trauma to them. I can't talk to someone about my brother dying because I may cry, but that cry may help somebody else realize that it's real. We have to stop doing that. Share those experiences. Let those individuals know that you are real. Let them people know that the experiences that you have are real. And you didn't have to necessarily do one particular drug. You didn't have to sip drink, but you can't tell me you don't have a life experience that you can relate to this person and change their life. Take the time to change their life. You can give them all the information. Take the time to change their life. And the only way you do that is to give them what changed your life.
And a lot of times that means just being vulnerable, being ready to open yourself up for criticism sometimes. But in the end, I spent a lot of time in the classroom as a teacher in high school, college level. And when I come in and go, do this, 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 and that, I lose my students. When I come in and explain to them why they should do this.
That's it.
You gotta make it relevant to your life. Teaching history. No one likes history. I love it because I figured out how to make it relate to where I am and where I want to go. And I'll start to wrap with this, and that is, we talked before, and I said, you pick an ill in this country, you pick a problem in the black community, black and brown community, you pick a condition. The answer to the cure for it all is knowledge, education.
Facts.
Kumo D said, knowledge is the source of my success. That's not just business success, that's life success, family success. Anything that you want to fix in this world and fix in yourself,
that's it.
It starts with becoming more educated on the subject, becoming more enlightened, opening up your mind. And I always believe that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth so you can listen more than you speak, all right? So it all starts with knowledge and understanding. And one of the missions at Be Busy, and I'm so blessed to be a part of this company, coming up on a year now, is because getting out of news, I always reported on the aftermath. Always like we're there later, reactionary. Here in this company, we try to prevent that. And that's a blessing. I want to say thank you and Ricardo and all the other Be Busy teams here. We have a lot of different teams that go out for trying to increase that knowledge, because that's the only way to fix anything. You make the kids smarter, they can now make right decisions. And you give them what you need. I want to say to you, lastly, leave us some parting wisdom, because you've had a rough life. We're going to do some other shows, talk about those other things. But when it comes to this subject, what are your hopes?
Number one, education is the key. I'm just trying to, truthfully, just want everybody to have or take advantage of all of their opportunities. So people have a consideration, they say rich, poor. I think the difference is opportunities. Some people use all of their opportunities. Every day is an opportunity. If you don't utilize that day, you're going to end up in a bad situation. But it's because you didn't utilize the opportunity. Given education is an opportunity. Knowledge is an opportunity. Because once you understand something, you have the ability to move away and become better. We got to keep giving opportunities. First is knowledge. If you give them knowledge, finances will come. When we give them understanding, they'll stop doing things like self-medicating, right? Because that comes with knowledge. Because you'll start to realize, I put it to you like this. Therapy for me. When I went into therapy, I started to realize that a lot of the things that I was dealing with, I wasn't dealing with them directly, right? Because I would deal with the symptoms of the problem, but not the problem. And so when we started to educate, so it took someone to educate me to give me the understanding or start to question, well, why do you do that? And okay, well, you're doing that because of that. Well, when did that start? And why did it start? And then it's like, oh, this whole time I've been messing around with this. And so when it comes to things like drugs, people want to escape. But why do you want to escape your own life? Why is life sober not as good as it is high?
The problem's still there. You're just too high to...
That's it. So when we give you education, you start to realize, like, you're not helping me. And even if you have trauma, you didn't heal the trauma. You just cope with it for momentarily. We need resolutions, not relief. Drugs are relief. And the sad part is, I learned a very valuable lesson from that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when it talks about the mentality of being poor. And it's more than just financial. Spiritually, you can be poor, right? Because you don't take care of your spirit like you should, because you've been taught this way, or you uneducated in the way that you should treat your spirit. Mentally, you can be poor because you're not treating you're understanding the way you should. You're not cultivating the way it should. Back to the opportunities. These are opportunities. You must change your mind state. We have to take away saying it's okay to be high.
And when the soul is unhappy, when the spirit is empty, it's a miserable, everything. That's a miserable feeling when you just feel empty.
Everything. I just want to say this to the people. There's hope. about 7 years ago, I looked and I questioned this generation. No, I'll be honest, I questioned that. I don't know if I want my future in the hands of these
I looked at my
individuals.
kids, I was like, what am I doing? No, I'm just kidding.
But I want to say this. No, there's hope. There's a lot of hope. But it does start with the education. It does start with us. And it starts with us changing the narratives. It starts with us giving kids a new outlet. Drugs aren't new. Poverty is not new. But you mean to tell me in 2022, we haven't came up with the smartest things on the planet? We're humans. We the smartest things on. We haven't created ways to get past this? Or is it by design? And that's why those politicians aren't helping.
Ooh, we're going to have another podcast.
Yeah, right?
All right, Shan, I want to thank you for joining us, and a lot of great information. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Stay tuned for other podcasts, because this is not the last one.
Better believe it.